Um, First day back from vacation, so bear with me. Thanks. I want to thank Walt for always bringing us some amazing topics so we can get our CEs in pretty easily here on Zoom. It's the beginning of our second quarter, and spring is here, and it's time to get to work, you guys. There's a lot of real estate actually happening right now. We just need to get some more listings. So call me if you want to get together. We can chat about diving into your farm and hitting it a lot more proactively and efficiently. So I'd love to chat with you guys about that. So anyhow, I'm going to let Walt take it from here, and thank you. Thanks for
Perfect.
joining us, everyone.
Hey, thanks, Tracy. Hey, one thing about the farm. So let me just ask you, is that, do you have email addresses and stuff for a farm or just addresses?
I have emails and phone numbers and all of that. There is a small fee. The problem with it is that data is as good as what you're willing to pay for it. So I've got some emails and some phone numbers, but I'm not guaranteeing the quality of them. But but I would love to chat with you guys about how to target your farm more efficiently, just with the door knocking and mailing, and I can do some social media stuff, zeroing in on your farm, and yeah, so it would make it a lot more efficient.
That's perfect.
But farming is a slow process, and you need to be willing to farm it, not just hit it once and run.
It's a marathon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you have a good time on vacation?
I had an amazing time. I went to Utah and went hiking, and it was really, really nice.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. And yeah, today on classes, I always have an idea. I sent these ideas to Tracy. I don't know, this time I was way early, like a month ago, 3 weeks ago, which I know that she likes. Most of the time it's like a few days before the class.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when you throw it on me 24 hours in advance.
So, so I came up with the title, Unlock the Secrets to Thriving in the New Market Era. And really talking about the market shift. And I've been talking quite a bit about the market shift. And it's not the market shift that most people are talking about or thinking about, which would be the market shift from a seller's market to a buyer's market, or a buyer's market to a seller's market. But this is actually the market shift between really the baby boomers and then the Gen Zers, the Gen Xers, the millennials, all of that. Now, I am going to say that today, when I started coming out with this information a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I was very clear on my path. I'm still clear on my path, but I'm going to say that I'm going to contradict myself a little bit because the new NAR numbers just came out and they're a little contradictory. However, I think we need to be ready for that shift. It's just not happening as quickly as I thought it was. And the other thing is that I think that that we need to really watch technology. Now, what I mean by that, there was an interview that was recently done that I found to be very, very interesting. I was going to bring part of that interview up, but it's a friend of mine, Dave Savage, who's doing an interview with this gal who really helped some insurance companies get up to speed on technology. Now, for whatever reason, the mortgage industry, not the real estate industry, but the mortgage industry has been very, very slow to adopt technology. I don't know why that is, but that's the case. They talked about database being really the number one thing that you have. In fact, one thing that Dave talks about consistently is your database is your data bank. So he's really trying to change that terminology to data bank. As you go forward in the interview, they talk about what in 2017, I found this to be very interesting. So in 2017, this gal left the insurance industry, went to the mortgage industry, worked for a lender to help them with their tech stack, with their technology stack, and went to this was the second time that this conference that was ever held, which was a digital mortgage conference. And it was in 2017. there were 20 vendors and there were 500 people. Now, just a year later, in 2018, there were 60 vendors, so it tripled, and there were 5,000 attendees. So it went from 500 attendees, from 20 vendors to 500 attendees to 60 vendors to 5,000 attendees just in 1 year. And there was a futurist that was there, Steve. I forget Steve's name. Steve Brown, I think is his last name. Dave's interviewed him a couple of times, and he talked about where technology is going to go to. I've heard this now twice from two different, I call them futurists, but two different people that are looking to the future with technology, and they understand blockchain technology and everything else. And they talked about the fact that soon, now this was back in 18, this is what Steve had said on stage. He was the keynote speaker. And I heard this again from another guy, Steve Sims, in 2019. Soon, we will be able to buy a house literally within about a minute to 2 minutes. We will go online. We will, if we want to see the house, we can either look at it through our phone. We will be able to do a 3D walkthrough through the house, which that technology has been here for a while. Or if we want to see the house, we can go up. We've got an app. We then go to the little super box, press the button, the key drops out. We then walk in. And when we walk in, there's an iPad right there on a wheel with the tube. And then all of a sudden, boom, it turns on, and there's a realtor on the iPad that says, hi, walk through the house, blah, blah, blah. We walk through the house, come back, and then the realtor on the iPad saying, would you like to buy the house? Yes, I'd like to buy the house. Great. You press the button. Think about this for a minute. Press the button, and literally title is done like that. The mortgage app is done like that. Credit, all supporting documents, bank statements, tax returns, pay stubs, all supporting documents are there now. Everything is done. It then says your terms are blah, blah, blah. Would you like to buy this house? You say yes. Appraisal's done. Everything's done. You say yes. And boom, you now own the house. Now, for people that say, no way, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no freaking way. I say, wait. Think of technology. I remember I got in this business in 1998, long time ago. And in 1998, I remember the broker of the company that I worked for, he bought me a new computer, a new desktop. This thing was, took up half my desk. And so bought a new desktop, and it was smoking fast. It's 128 megahertz. I mean, smoking fast. And I remember I called my friend and I'm like, dude, let's get online together. I want to see how fast this thing is. So you click your button, I'll click my button at the same time. And then of course the AOL sound happens and everything, and it's taking us a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I'm at 28%. I'm at 54%. Boom, I'm online. And it takes him another 15 seconds to get online. And he's like, okay, I'm online now. And I'm like, dude, that's smoking fast. It's awesome. That's 1998. Think of 2006. So just, what is that? 8 years later, we get the first iPhone, 2006. That iPhone was so much more powerful than that computer was. In fact, that iPhone was so powerful that it was more powerful than the computer on the shuttle to get our astronauts to the moon and back. Think of that. Think of how fast that technology ran. Think of the Digital Mortgage Conference 2017, 20 vendors, 500 attendees. Just 1 year later, 60 vendors, 5,000 attendees. technology moves so quick. There's a terminology for it, and I forget what it is, but it literally it moves faster and faster every year. And the technology that we're seeing comes faster and faster. Now they're saying that we could be there potentially in the year 2025, just a year and a half. I don't know. I mean, part of my pessimistic side says there's no freaking way. But then I look at how fast technology has gone, and I look at ChatGPT. I mean, that program ended up getting 1 million users faster than any program in the history of programs ever. I mean, it got to 1 million users just like that. And that program is incredible. I mean, I know a mortgage guy down in Texas who connected up ChatGPT with his database program, which is actually happens to be the database program I use, Jungo, and connected it up to Jungo, and it now answers texts for him. Freaking ChatGPT answering texts. I mean, I was on the phone call the other day with somebody, and I finally had to say, are you a real human? Because of how fast technology has changed with AI, and AI can answer phone calls. It can direct people. So my point is that technology changes very, very fast. And I want us to be ready for that. So that is the shift I want to talk about today. Now, before I get there, I just sent out an email because literally this program is hot off the press. I'm still learning about it. I don't have all the information on it, but I wanted to get it out to those that are here today, because this is a program that similar to what I had a few years ago with another company, and that is we now have 101% financing. So let me walk through with that with you. Share. Okay, so this is it, guys. So my question is do you have clients that have a 660 credit score or higher that may have money for a down, but they don't have money for closing costs? Or, you know, they have money for closing costs, but they don't have money for down, whatever. They're a first-time home buyer. This program doesn't have to go first-time home buyer. I'm learning about what it looks like not being a first-time home buyer, but specifically I've got the information on the first-time home buyer. So we can go to 140% of AMI income. AMI income is like 91,000 right now. And so therefore we can go to income as long as the client has I think it's $128,000 or less in income per year. That's going to be most of our first-time home buyers. So what I want to show you was a traditional loan, 97% is what we would take most first-time home buyers. And we've been seeing some 100% programs coming out, but this is 101%. What's cool about this program is that it'll cover the 3% for the down payment, but also gives you an extra 1% for closing costs. So let me walk you through. So here at 97%, a $450,000 purchase price, the rate's roughly 6.75. And this is for an average credit score. So we're looking at like a 700 credit score here. If we went to a 780 score, rate would be lower on both these programs, but I just wanted an average credit score about 700. So rate is 6.75, and the payment is $3,477, and you walk in with $28,560 for your down payment closing costs, and you own the house. Congratulations. Yay. So that's 97%. That's the way that most conventional financing goes. Again, there's some lenders that are coming out with 100% programs. I don't know of another lender right now that has 101%. And if we can get a community bank second, we can go all the way to 105%. So I'm trying to find out what that means, but literally we can cover all closing costs if we can find that community bank second. But right now, bear with me, we're at 101. So 101 looks 450. Interest rate is just 0.25% higher than what the going rate is on conventional. So 7%. Total payment is $3,655. So we're talking $177 more per month than what the conventional is here. And you walk in with $6,995 and you own the house. So can we get that money from the seller right now for the next couple of months until we really go back into a full seller's market? You know, can we increase the price a little bit? I know that I've been seeing more seller concessions on files. So that's a question for you guys. But the beauty here is that literally we can cover the down payment and 1% of the closing costs. So massive game changer, guys. I mean, again, a client walks in with $7,000, their payment's $122 more per month. They're set. The beauty is that in another 2 years, and I'll show here in a little bit, but values are going to increase potentially by another 5% over the next couple of years. So at that point, in 2 years from now, we can refinance down into a lower rate. And it's going to take probably around 18 months to 2 years for us to get down in those lower rates anyway. So I think this is a massive game changer, guys. I think this is something that can really affect home buyers, can help home buyers get into mortgages. So really, again, I mean, no down payment, no closing costs, no problem. You know, we cover 1% of the closing costs. And again, if I can find a community bank second, we can have them cover all the closing costs. So I'll be looking for that. I don't know if I'm going to find it or not. I've got a question into our investor to find out, you know, who might do that. But right now it's 101% financing. So let's go out and help some people buy houses, guys. I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. All right. So let's run through the ideas that I had here for our class. Oops. Sorry, guys, I just changed my screens and I'm not used to this and it's weirding my screens out. So I'm just going to go screen 2 here. Okay. So unlock the secrets of thriving in the new market era. Now, first thing is that, I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to change this. This is going to drive me nuts. Bear with me here just a quick minute. And I'm going to share screen 1. Okay. Okay. So you guys should see my screen. If you don't, then let me know. Yeah, you should see my screen here, and you should see the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. Is that correct? Yes. If I don't hear anything different, then I'm going to keep going. Perfect. So again, I mean, we need to be a leader with our clients. We need to really teach them, help share with them what really is reality in our market. So and I think that's a tough thing. I think that's a really tough thing in our market. A lot of sellers, I think, are looking back at numbers of a couple of years ago and thinking, man, my house has increased another 20% this last year, which simply is not the case. And so, and we don't have a name of the loan that I just went over. I'm just going to call it the 101. So, and it's our loan. It's specific to us. So, so again, being a leader, we share information. We share really what's truth with our sellers, with our buyers, and help them make wise decisions. That's why I do these classes. Besides the fact that I want to bring value to you guys and help you guys, I'm really looking to be able to help your buyers and your sellers to be able to make wise decisions. When we look at buying trends and that, we have seen this where when interest rates are at 5% or below, we've got a strong buyer demand. I mean, you look back at a year ago, a year and a half ago, interest rates are at 3%, 3.5, whatever, 2%. There was massive buyer demand, massive buyer demand. As we hit 5%, it slowed down. As we hit 6%, it slows down a little bit more. As we hit 6.5, there's limited buyer demand. And of course, when we're hitting 7% and up to 7.5, then the buyer demand gets really, really weak. So we know that, excuse me, in our market. Sam mentioned that the economy is showing signs of resilience, mainly due to consumer spending, and rates are increasing. Overall housing costs are also increasing and therefore impacting inflation, which continues to persist. Now, as I've said, we need to really watch inflation. We've got to watch what inflation's doing. We've got to watch these numbers. And this is, again, I mean, today's numbers. The CPI report came out yesterday. The core producer price index came out yesterday. Today, the producer price index came out, which strips out food and energy out of that. Now, why are those two important? The core producer price index is what the Fed uses to gauge inflation. Now, from those numbers, it looks like it ticked up. And it did. It went from 5.5 to 5.6%. So that means that really what they're doing isn't really helping inflation, right? Wrong. When you strip out shelter costs, which shelter costs have been going up, just like Sam talks about here, when you strip those out, then actually our core inflation went down. That's why yesterday's rates improved, is that our inflation, and as the Fed raises the Fed funds rate to slow spending down, they're trying to slow inflation down. And they're doing that. They have been doing that. Now, the Fed looks at the CPI report, which is data that was a year old. And it's kind of like driving a ship, a big, massive cruise ship, and looking in the rearview mirror, or looking back at a year data. And it's really tough for them to be able to really determine what to do. In fact, right now, remember, there's a Fed chairman, and then there's 12 other Fed presidents. And so there's a New York one, a Chicago one, San Francisco, and so on and so forth. So out of those Fed presidents, they're the ones that make the monetary policy. They decide whether we're going to print money or not. They decide if we're going to increase the Fed funds rate, lower the Fed funds rate, what we're going to do. Now, even they are a little confused as to what to do in this next upcoming Fed meeting. When the next Fed meeting comes, right now, it looks like there's about a 70% chance that they're going to hike the Fed funds rate, which in my opinion is a terrible idea. I think the market's already got it in there. In fact, the producer price index that came out this morning even shows this, because we went down significantly in our producer price index numbers today. And I'm talking significantly, like by 3 points. We're in the 5% range. We're now in the 2% range. Now, as you look at these two charts, the reason why I want to share these two charts with you is that the red is the producer price index. And you can see that the blue, the core producer price index, really mirrors the red, doesn't it? Well, the red just took a nosedive, and we're down in the 2% range for the producer price index, which is beautiful, because we know that the core producer price index is going to follow that, which means we know that what the Fed's been doing has been helping interest rates, has been helping inflation. When I say helping, is killing inflation, which we need to do. Inflation is a killer upon mortgage-backed securities, bonds, which that's what drives our interest rates. So our interest rates follow inflation. As inflation is going down, and this proves that inflation is going down, as inflation is going down, so do our interest rates. Now, where do we think that interest rates are going to be? I don't know. They're, it's an interesting sliding ball, but I mean, we're already now looking at rates in the high fives, low sixes. For some folks, if they have money down. I mean, I just worked on a scenario for a client this morning that was putting $200,000 down on a property, and yeah, her rate was down in the fives, with good credit, about 5.75 or so, 5.5. And then, so we're down in the fives. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. And then in the sixes. So really, I think that rates, I think that May 10th is going to be a big number. If you follow my weekly market update, I talked about that. May 10th is going to be a big number, because that's where we've got the big difference between where inflation was last year, a year ago, and where it is now. And starting May 10th is when it should start really trickling down. So that's when our rates, I think, are going to start to fall. And I think that we'll probably be solidly in the fives by the third quarter of this year. Solidly in the fives, where everybody's in the fives. And then, so that means low fives to mid to high fives. And I think really by the end of this year, we could see the fours again. Now, when we see those numbers, the media is going to be all over that. And so I think at that point, there's no chance of a seller. I think we're back in the same market that we were just a few months ago, when buyers are making, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking prices. So I think we're back there. Now, this is going to be important information for you to share with your clients, and that is existing home sales for 2023. Now, the media is going to be looking at the fact that we're down 22%. However, when we look at unchanged month over month for inventory, let's start to look at inventory. Inventory, we've got roughly, this was February, 980,000 homes for sale across the US. That is key to understand, and that is key to share with your sellers and with your buyers. 980,000 units across the US. Remember that number. We're up 15% year over year. Still very low, but compared to 2007, where we had 4 million homes for sale. Here's the deal: we're at 2.6 months supply. A normal market is 4.6 months supply. Remember that number. I'm going to come back to that. Here's we look at 980,000 homes for sale. Look at where we were through the pandemic. We're up higher, and pre-pandemic levels we're well over 1 million, and we didn't have enough supply then. Now we're at 980,000. We still don't have enough supply. Remember that real estate is a supply and demand issue. Again, we're building to share this with a seller and with a buyer, because now's the time to buy. So existing home sales for February, active listings. Remember I said there were 980,000 units. That was the active listings. There's 980,000 units. Well, 578 are truly active. The remainder of those, 400 and change, have offers on them. So they're really off the market, aren't they? Which really means we have around a 1.5 month supply when considering active listings. So we really only have around 578,000 active listings in the US. Now, while the number of homes for sale is increasing, it is still 47.4% lower than it was before pandemic levels. So as we look at these numbers, we're still much lower than pandemic levels. As we look at change in inventory month over month, we're down around 6.7. Here in Oregon, we're down around 7.8. Here's the big thing to understand is that single family housing units completed, we're in a negative territory, and we've been in a negative territory for what we need since really 2008. where builders have not been able to get the money to be able to build houses. I'm going to touch more upon that in a minute. Housing market short millions of homes. Realtor.com is saying we're short around 5.24 million homes across the US. Bank of America says we're short 4. Freddie Mac says 3.8 million, and so on and so forth. Here's the big number. Housing starts and permits. This was 2023 January. We've got completions at 1.41 million. We have single family completions at 1 million. Permits 1.34 million. Single family permits, starts. However, out of completions of 1.41 million, we have new household formations at 1.9 million. So we're running at a negative right now every single year of at least 500,000 homes. If we're already negative for how many homes that we're going to have or how many homes we need for the market, we're negative. And I want to bring your attention to the fact that we've got, I'm going to say we had, because it was we had, because the new numbers are out. So again, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. We've got the millennials. The millennials had been driving our market. They're not now, according to last year's statistics. So 2021 and 20, they drove our market. The millennials did. How many people, how many millennials are there? There's 85 million millennials across the US. 85 million. Now, the population right underneath the millennials, the Gen Zers, there's 60 million of them. If right now we're creating 1.4 million households with the millennials, and the average household creation is around 31 years of age, if we're creating that with millennials, and we know that they had been driving the market, and they're still relatively driving the market, but just not as much, we know that they want to buy houses, right? And we need a place to stay. So it's either you buy a house or you rent. Rent costs have gone through the roof. You buy a house to hedge against inflation. Makes a lot of sense. Now, the thing is that if those millennials are 85 million and they're creating 1.4 million households every single year, and the Gen Zers are right behind them, so we're going to have a problem with housing for a long time. And I think there's a massive opportunity for us, guys, massive opportunity, because it's a great time to buy not only now, but it's a great time to buy for another 10 years. And it's going to take the banks, or it's going to take the builders at least, they've already said, at least 10 years to catch up, at least. So the other thing is I really don't, there's certain things that I believe with Dave Ramsey. I think that he teaches some good principles, but there's some principles I don't believe with him as much. But on housing, he came out a little while ago and he said, right now is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. And here's why. Prices are not going to go down. They're going to go up slower, but they're not going to go down. And so 5 years from today, houses are going to be more expensive. So this is the best time right now if you're going to buy a house. If interest rates come back down, refinance, but do not wait on interest rates to come. Don't not buy waiting on interest rates to come down. We have a couple clients that are waiting for interest rates to come down. Terrible decision. Terrible decision. Because as inflation goes down, as interest rates go down, again, remember the buying philosophies of clients. As interest rates go down, we then start to hit into the strong buyer demand. The media is going to be all over that. Now everybody's going to get back in the market. And when everybody gets back in the market, at that point, now there's again going to be bidding wars on houses. So do you guys find this information helpful so far? I mean, is this stuff that you can share with your sellers and with your buyers and going to be beneficial? Let me know. So estimated national price performance. This is December is forecasted by 2022. So it's anticipated that home values are going to continue to rise. And this year we're seeing anywhere from, one report saying negative 1.6%. And then we're seeing as much as Fannie Mae just changed their guidance again. And they're saying we're going to be positive about 5%. So the point is that we're going to see consistent home value increases anywhere from probably 1% on up. This is something you definitely want to share with buyers. And I've shared this on social media and I've sent it out to everybody. But this is something that you really want to share with buyers here. Betting against the champ. So our friends at MBS Highway, they put this out some time ago. And if you have a record of 73, let's say that you were playing baseball, and 73 times at bat you hit the ball, 7 times you didn't, and 1 time you just kind of watched the ball. Let's just say. Well, I would say that's a pretty good record. In fact, I think you would probably be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars to a baseball franchise. Well, that's housing values. So as we look at all the greens that we've had here, those have all been times when home values have increased. The reds, 7 of them, are when housing values decreased. The majority of that was through 2008. And then there were a couple times, and it shows 1 here, but really it was 2, where home values didn't do anything in a given year. They're at 0%. It looks like maybe 3 or something. Anyway, so the reality is that the values on home prices, and this is since 1942, guys, all the way back to 1942, home values have consistently increased. And I'm talking to the choir here, I know that. So okay. Just going through some questions here. So as we're looking at price or percentage change in home prices since 1991 until now, Oregon has gone up 511% from 1991 until now. So the national average is up 289%. So is housing a great great investment? Of course it is. Of course it is. And then here is the potential growth in household wealth over the next 5 years based solely on increased home equity if you purchase a $400,000 home in 2023. So we know that values, do they go down this year? I don't think so, but this is a very, very conservative approach. We know that home values are going to consistently increase, and we know that. And so we should see really, I'm anticipating around 4 to 5% this year, again, 4 to 5% next year, really, again, due to supply and demand. And as interest rates go down, as inflation goes down, as interest rates go down, we're going to see that supply and demand issue become more prevalent. We're making 1.4 million households every year. We need 1.9 million homes every year. So we're in that negative, and that's just going to, push home prices up even more. That's one thing. That's one reason why FHA is looking at a 40-year mortgage, which, they have created. We'll hear more about that in May. But it really is it's not for purchases. It's for modifications. It's to help people right now. But do they come out with a full 40-year mortgage? I don't know. And then one thing I showed in my market report here this last week was, even if they do come out with a full 40-year mortgage that everybody uses, why not buy the rate down by 3% or by 3/4 of a point, which costs 1 point at the time. 1 point, you buy the interest rate down by 3/4, and you have the same payment. So, and then you have a 30-year mortgage instead of a 40-year mortgage. That may make a lot of sense. So I want to talk about the shift. So I talked about really technology at the very beginning, and technology moves extremely fast. And we know that. Again, just think of how far back. I mean, just 2008. I mean, I refused to use an iPhone at that time. But I was using a BlackBerry, and I love my BlackBerry. And now I couldn't not use. I mean, I think it was 2009 when I switched to an iPhone, 2010, in there somewhere. And now I couldn't think of business without an iPhone. And you can get so much information on your iPhone. So think of how fast that technology goes. Now, as we think about that, think about the generations that you operate within. Now, I want to share with you guys just a concept, and that is specializing. If you think of doctors, for instance, let's look at a general practitioner. A general practitioner makes $250,000 a year. So, and they're a general practitioner, they're not a specialist. When you specialize within a group, then you're going to make a lot more money. Now, a orthopedic surgeon is going to make $500,000 to $750,000, $800,000 a year in there somewhere. But then you go to a specialized neurosurgeon that works on a specific area of the brain, and they're going to be $2, $3, $4 million, $5 million or more a year. You look at specialized plastic surgeons. I mean, they're making $10 million a year. So when you specialize in a specific area, you have a tendency to make more money in that area. The cool thing is that you're working within your sweet spot. And as you're working within your sweet spot, the branding that you're making in that sweet spot, you're always talking about those things, and you're able to buy more brain cells in that sweet spot. And again, you gain more confidence in that sweet spot, and you're able to really excel. So what I want to share with you guys is, what area are you going to work on? Are you going to generalize? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Are you going to generalize and work with any buyer? Or do you want to start to increase your team and maybe have specializations within your team? And within your team, again, have those specializations. So maybe you've got one person that works specifically with baby boomers. I'm going to make that suggestion that you really look at the baby boomer population. So you've got one specialization that works with baby boomers, one specialization that works with Gen Xers, one specialization that works with millennials, one that works with Gen Zers. And you have those people that really understand that segment of the business. As we look at the silent generation is 78 to 98 years old. And that was what they were called. And so they were born between 1925 and 1945. Then you've got the older boomers that were born 1946 to 1954. They're 69 to 77 years old. And you have the younger boomers that are 68 to 59 years old. So you've got those two sets of boomers right there. So really 77 to 59 years old. You then have the Gen Xers. I'm part of the Gen X population. I'm not going to tell you my age. Actually, I don't care. 49 years old. So I'm a little younger on the Gen X side, but that's my population. And so we do business a little bit differently. You've got the Gen Y or the millennials. They're 34 to 43 years old. And then from there, you've got the Gen Ys, the younger Gen Y millennials, 25 to 33 years old. And then you've got the Gen Zers, 20 to 24. We are starting to work with more Gen Zers. So let's run through this number. As we run through really the numbers here, we can see that the younger millennials are buying more homes, and really the millennials have been driving our home purchases here. As we look at applications since 2016, the millennials again have been really, they're in the blue here. They've been driving our purchase business. You can see that consistently since 2017, they've been higher. The Gen Xers have been starting to fall off a little bit. Baby boomers have been starting to fall off a little bit. silent generation, their homes are paid off. So this was 2021's numbers according to NAR. Share of buyers and sellers. You can see that the millennials here have the largest buyer population. That's a dark blue here, largest buyer population. And then you go down to Gen Xers, my generation. And then you go down to boomers, 17 to 12%. So you look within that, and then you've got younger millennials. And then really younger millennials aren't selling as many homes because they don't own a home. So you've got a lot of purchases there. But it's very interesting to watch this, and you know that early millennials have been driving our market. I did say had. Here are the new numbers. These are the new numbers that literally just came out about a week ago. And I find this very, very interesting. Gen Xers are driving the market, my population. And the boomers are right behind them. So you look at the boomers between 23% younger boomers and 16% older boomers. So you're looking at a big portion of the market there. The boomers are actually together, young and old, are now truly driving the market, where the millennials are not. They were down 16% in purchases last year. So they had 16% of the overall market. When you add the two millennials together, still the boomers outpace them. And that's really due to, I think that, a lot of boomers are now starting to what I call right size. So my question is what are you doing to attract the boomers? Now, I've been really looking at the shift and really trying to attach or not attach, but really trying to create messages that resonate with millennials and the younger population. But that's something that this number really blew me away, that the boomers really hit that market again. And so what am I doing? The question is also, what am I doing to help them? And one thing that we've started doing is we've noticed that between our clients and such, really when you're 50 to 60 years old, we've noticed that a lot of our clients haven't saved money for retirement. So we're really doubling down on financial planning with them, helping them understand the value of saving, helping them look at their equity a little bit differently in their house because they've got a significant amount of equity in their house. So really looking at helping them create wealth and springboard their retirement. In fact, a lot of our clients, between 50 and 60, they may only have $100,000 in retirement or so, but they may have $300,000-$400,000 worth of equity in their house. Now, equity in a house doesn't gain value. So we're trying to help them understand that and help them understand that we can maybe invest some of that equity in another investment and make more money, and really springboard their retirement. So for us, if your current lender is not helping your clients create wealth, which creates relationships and brings those clients back to you, that's exactly what we're doing with our clients. We're really looking at a long-term relationship with clients, creating wealth through their mortgage. We have a 4-stage process that we go through with all clients. And we do that through annual asset reviews as well with our clients. So we have an annual asset review with all of our clients. We give them that opportunity. We're helping them create money for reserves. So about 3 to 6 months worth of reserves, then become debt-free. Then we help them create significant liquidity. We team them up with a financial planner to do that. And at that point, we then create enough money to where they can physically write a check and pay their mortgage off. So if your current lender isn't doing that, please talk to us if that's what you would like for your clients. Now, when we're looking at first-time home buyers in the age group, right now, first-time home buyers, there's 23 to 31-year-olds are about 81% of the market. Even though that age group is less the overall market, they're most of the first-time home buyers. So with our 101 loan that we just introduced, that really is going to be about 81% of the first-time home buyers, not overall home buyers, but the first-time home buyers. As we look at here, really, the numbers are interesting when we look at 23 to 31-year-olds. and what they do. So contact an agent. You look at the numbers when you're 32 to 41, 18%, 19%, 21%, 24. The older generations past the millennials always contacted an agent first. But then you see that those numbers have been starting to come down. And really, as we start to look at these, it really comes to, I talked with a friend or a relative about the home buying process. 14%. So the first time home buyers right now, 14% of them are contacting friends and relatives about the home buying process before they're ever talking to a professional, you or I. So, so we've got limited time here. I just want to share with you guys real quick here. So the way that millennials and Gen Zs think, and this is again that generation, the how can we help them the most? Gen Zers process information faster than any other generation, including millennials. They live in a high-tech world with constant updates and have grown up with access to can't make that word out. So anyway, they've grown up with access to information in just a click of a button. That's the point there. So these slides are directly from my friend Deborah Bird at Plug and Play SM. So they're really great at multitasking, or millennials versus Gen Zers. A short attention span. So when you're looking at multitasking, a short attention span is not always a drawback. And what Generation Z lacks in focus, they make up in their multitasking capabilities. Gen Zs can work on a school assignment on their computer and do research on a tablet, all while taking notes. So that boggles my mind. So they multitask very, very quickly. They process information faster than any other generation, the Gen Zers do. Independent versus collaborative, 71% of Gen Z say they live by the phrase, if you want something done, do it, then do it yourself. And so they do it yourself. So they're really going to study really the professional side. And so they're going to study what paths, what is the home buying path. That's why it's so important to create content. So the digital pioneers, 40% of Gen Zs say that reliable Wi-Fi is more important than reliable bathrooms. And that's crazy. So they are the digital pioneers. They do everything online, face-to-face or digital chat. 74% of Gen Zs say they prefer to communicate face-to-face in the workplace. Gen Zs so Gen Zs face-to-face in the workplace. Gen Zs prefer a more personalized approach due to their tech world. So when they're meeting with a professional, it is going back to that face-to-face. Optimistic vision, a survey conducted by Lincoln Financial Group tells us that Gen Zs are far more optimistic than the millennials. 64% of Gen Zs have started researching or talking to others about their financial future by the age of 13. And after starting these conversations, 95% of those making financial plans feel optimistic about their financial future. And we do teach financial literacy not only to our clients on a consistent basis, but we also teach those in schools now. So convenience over brands is important to them. Different ways of learning. They have different ways of learning. They have different tolerances to the way in which you do things as well. And here we're looking at social media influencers today. So social influencers are today's celebrities. Gen Zs are more likely to be browsing YouTube than sitting in a movie theater. 63% say they prefer to see real people than celebrities in their ads. Now, when you're looking at really Gen Zs, you're not looking as much as you know, as Facebook or at Facebook. You're not looking at Gen Zs won't be on Facebook a lot, but they do again look at YouTube. So building out your YouTube channel is important with that generation. It's important with what I'm finding is it's probably more important to build out your YouTube than it is your Facebook. Still, we post a lot of information on Facebook. That's really for you guys. But we're building out our YouTube channel, a lot of information on there. In fact, I just interviewed Randy at Fidelity, and we created a bunch of content like, what is escrow? What does an escrow officer do? What is title? We created a bunch of content. And so looking at ways that you can create content to put on YouTube, whether it's joint interviews or whatnot, those things all always help. So the point is that throughout all of our training here, housing is strong. We know that. Interest rates are going down. We know that. Branding is important, and you need to start now if you haven't done it. So get in front of a camera, guys. If you're worried about getting in front of a camera, do your best to overcome that worry, because you are who you are. You sound like who you sound like. People like you anyway. That's the best thing. People like you. So get in front of your groups, build your YouTube channel, build information. I'm going to tell you that millennials and Gen Zers don't care how many houses you list. They don't care how many houses you sell. They don't care. So posting all of those things of house under contract and this house is new to the market and such, it's really going to us that are in the industry. We're the ones that see that information. But a lot of the Gen Zers and millennials, they don't care. And so they're looking at information that they can use instead of having to go to a professional and get that information up front. They will get it from them eventually, but they're looking at information that they can use today, knowledge that they can obtain today. So that means Google reviews are very, very important. If you haven't started those, start getting Google reviews. I would sway away from Zillow reviews, more so than, I do Google for just a lot of different reasons. But, Zillow could lock you out at some point. Who knows? Who knows where Zillow is going to be? So anyway, love to work with you guys on your first-time home buyers on the 101 program. Love to work with you guys on those that are looking for retirement and or looking to create money for retirement, and then just any other buyers that you have that really need counsel. Our specialization is really education, so that's what we do best. All right, turn it back over to you, Tracy.
Well, thanks, Walt. That was awesome. You did mention Google reviews, and I would love to chat with people about how to build their Google presence. So that is one thing that I've been working on with a lot of agents. So if you want some help, reach out to me. I have some little secrets and tidbits to share with you. And other than that, I've got your CEs all ready to go. So you should be getting those this afternoon in your inbox. And if you don't, just reach out and let me know. But thanks everybody for popping on here today.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.